everybody, and welcome once again to Real Shame, a show where we talk about our list of movie blind spots, aka our list of shame.
That's right.
My name is Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And last time we talked about a movie that takes place on The Rock, island of Alcatraz.
And it wasn't
Alcatraz
The Rock.
prison. Yeah, it was Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood and Patrick McGoohan. And today we are going to follow that up with another movie taking place at Alcatraz, and that movie is
Birdman of Alcatraz.
Birdman, not Michael Keaton Birdman, not former NBA player Chris Anderson. If you're familiar with him, he was nicknamed the Birdman. This is Birdman of Alcatraz, but I agree with you. Maybe it should have been Birdman. Leavenworth.
Not what was his name? Oh God, I was thinking of the cartoon Hawkman or whatever.
Oh yeah, Hawkman.
Not the DC one, but they did like a Cartoon Network did like a thing where he's like a lawyer or something.
I remember that.
Yeah, Harvey Birdman.
Yeah, Harvey Birdman. That's right.
There it is, right there. Not that one either.
Not Harvey Birdman.
Guys, that was like 3 synapses fired to get that for you. All right, we're talking about Birdman of Alcatraz, right?
Birdman of Alcatraz.
Been expecting you, Harvey. I have a telegram here from Washington. You probably know about it.
I've heard.
I think you will live to regret that this wire ever came.
How come?
Because you're going to spend the rest of your life in deep lock.
Who says so?
The Attorney General. Remember the judge's sentence? And kept in solitary confinement until you are hanged by the neck.
Yeah, but that ain't what the judge meant.
That's what the Attorney General says he meant.
Okay, murderer Robert Stroud, played by Burt Lancaster, is sentenced to prison at Leavenworth. There, he takes on an orphaned little baby bird, and over his years at Leavenworth prison, he becomes something of a bird expert. Mm-hmm. After his many years and publishing medicines, I think they call them serums or whatever. No, they don't call that. They call it something else. And books, he gets transferred to Alcatraz. And this story is about his kind of journey through the prison system. Mm-hmm. This movie came out in 1962, directed by John Frankenheimer, and it's written by Guy Trosper. I think that's how I put his name down. So this is a movie I haven't seen. You've seen before.
Yeah, I thought I hadn't seen it, and then I realized I had seen it as I started watching it.
But, that doesn't really matter on these follow-up movies.
Right.
So what were your thoughts of Birdman of Alcatraz?
So a few months ago, we were just talking about Roger Moore before we started filming. A few months ago, I watched a movie with Roger Moore pre-James Bond called The Man Who Haunted Himself, which is a fun little movie. But there's a line in there which I really thought was funny and that I liked. He's talking to his wife in the movie, and there's like a guy, one of his business friends or business coworkers or whatever, has come to the house and visited while he wasn't there. And he gets there and the guy leaves or whatever. And I think he accuses her of like having an affair or something. I don't remember the specifics, but she's like, "Are you kidding? He bores me to tired sobs." And this movie bored me to tired sobs.
Oh, wow.
I think I forgot that I watched it before because I think I felt the same about it before. I thought it was boring the first time I watched this movie, and so I just kind of flushed it out of the old noggin. I don't hate this movie, but I really don't. I'm really bored by it, and I don't think that it works overall. I promise I do like prison movies because I know Escape from Alcatraz I wasn't all that keen on. I do like prison. I do like a lot of prison movies.
He likes prison movies as long as they're called Tango and Cash.
Yeah, I do like Tango and Cash. I do. But no, I'm a Shawshank fan. I like Cool Hand Luke and stuff like that. But this movie just didn't win me over either time that I've watched it. Again, not terrible, but not amazing. That's my initial thoughts, and I can elaborate. But what do you feel about it?
I'm warmer on the movie than you. I think it does take some time to settle in, and I was confused during the first part of the movie because when he first talks to the warden, he looks like the guy has like a maquette or a mock-up of Alcatraz. So I thought he was already at Alcatraz, and it turns out he wasn't Alcatraz.
No, he doesn't get to Alcatraz until much further
later,
in the movie. So it is funny the movie's called Birdman of Alcatraz because that's what he was known as.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's funny. It should have been called Birdman of Leavenworth.
So it took me. So there's a lot of that was really confusing, and again, the name being Alcatraz and Alcatraz being such a small portion of the movie. I think this movie succeeds where Escape from Alcatraz doesn't succeed. And I feel like we have a full idea of Burt Lancaster's Richard Stroud. I've read that is not a very accurate depiction of the true life character, but I think he does a good job, and he's in the prison system for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
I think
he basically spent his whole life in prison. Yeah.
And you get to see him kind of age and stuff like that. And so I like that. So I feel like we get a very good character story of him and stuff like that. And I did find that interesting. Honestly, he kind of reminded me a lot of Chris Evans when he was really young. He was a pretty jacked dude. He could have played Captain America in the 60s if he wanted to. He's a beefy guy.
Yeah.
Very scary dude. But just overall, I kind of liked it a little bit more. I like the digging into it and stuff that we got out of his characterization. There's some weird things that kind of caught me off guard a little bit with the movie. It seemed like prisoners could do a lot back then. They had a lot of free reign, right? There wasn't a lot of rules or regulations around them. They seemed to let them do a whole bunch. It's wow, this is not what I'm used to. 60 years later.
I agree with you that Burt Lancaster's character is much more developed than, for example, Clint Eastwood's character in Escape from Alcatraz. I will grant you that. My problem is I just didn't get what was the movie trying to tell me? What was it? What was the point of it all? Because I never sympathized with him at all. Because he was a dick. I mean, he was an asshole, right? And I actually felt more sympathy for the warden in this movie, the Carl Malden character, because I felt like he was trying to be nice to him. He was trying to be nice to Robert Stroud or Burt Lancaster.
I said interesting that the warden's the
I felt like he was much more sympathetic. And so later on in the movie, so they get separated because the warden goes to work for another prison or whatever, goes to work wherever. And then later on, he's going to be the warden, or he is the warden at Alcatraz. And that's when Burt Lancaster gets transferred there, and they kind of catch up or whatever. And because Burt Lancaster is not allowed to keep birds at Alcatraz, he was allowed at Leavenworth. Yeah. He starts to write a book about the history of the penal system and about how oppressive it is and everything. And of course, yes, it is. It's a prison.
And just putting that warden guy on blast or whatever.
Right, but just like you said, it seemed like the prisoners were allowed to do a lot. So how oppressive really? I mean, at Leavenworth, they gave him 2 cells.
They jackhammered his cell
they did
open.
Construction to get him another cell. They let him have all these birds.
They let him have bird seeds. He could make concoctions to sell to people.
He's like, I took the liberty of ordering whatever. It's at the post office. Can you go get it for me? Yeah, it's just
I want to say 2 things. One, I wrote in my notes, it's interesting that the warden's sympathetic. And 2, Stroud could get a lot more things if he was nicer. So totally on point. But they let him do so much stuff. They let canaries come in and hang out and all sorts of animals.
I just kept thinking, God, how much bird shit is in there? It
I was thinking it must smell really
in
bad.
that cell. But so he's like, oh, you haven't rehabilitated me, warden. And, he has kind of a long speech when he's talking to Carl Malden later on in the movie about how, he's not rehabilitated and, you don't know the meaning of the word and all this stuff. Yeah. And I thought, God, they've been over backwards to give you all this stuff. Granted, they never paroled him, which that's another problem I felt like with the movie. The whole movie, they keep talking about, he's got these parole hearings. He's got these parole hearings. I wish they would have shown at least one. It was always he has this parole hearing coming up, and then the movie would flip to another scene, and yes, you just get that, he didn't make the parole or whatever. But
I get a little bit of his mom trying to...
Yeah, and they just throw her in every once... I honestly thought she was dead for most of the movie, and then she came back all of a sudden, looking like the Crypt Keeper, with their old age makeup. I didn't think his mom was a particularly sympathetic character because she's kind of evil.
No, she's
not
evil,
but she's nice to him, and then when he gets married, she's she turns like a switch. Which I was like, we didn't see that before really at all. And then I felt really sorry for the lady that he married.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I mean, you just wonder like what's she getting into? Does she know that?
Yeah,
and she seems really nice. Like,
right.
I mean, like I was, yeah. There's a lot of things running through my mind when they got married. I was like, does he have like conjugal visits? You know, all that stuff. And she's like, I'll move to San Francisco or move to Bay Area.
Yeah.
I'm with you on a lot of that stuff.
He just, I mean, if I'm going to watch a 2.5 hour movie about this, that's largely, I mean, it's mainly this character. I got to feel something for this guy, and I felt no sympathy for him.
See, I did feel for him a little bit, but I do think like around the parole stuff, you kind of have real life with the character not being as sympathetic as Burt Lancaster's bringing, so they kind of have to like, well, I mean, obviously you would see this guy and you'd probably like the way Burt Lancaster portrays him, be like, this guy has obviously made something of his life. Let's get him out of there. But when you put him towards a real dude, it's like, well, no.
It's just they show so much of how they bend over backwards to accommodate this guy. I wish they would have showed at least one parole hearing to make you understand a little bit further about like why. Well, then why do they reject him? Because it seems like they love this guy based on all the crap good stuff they give him. Yeah. It's like, why do they reject?
They give him like a stupid not magnifying glass.
Microscope.
Yeah. You give him a microscope. The guy gives him like apple crates and stuff.
And when that character, that's Neville Brand, when his character kind of reads in the riot act about how you never say please and thank you, I was like, yeah, tell him. Yeah. He's a jerk.
He kind of warmed up a little bit, but he overall was pretty much very jerkish. What do you think of Kojak, Terry Savalas?
His character was super annoying.
Yes.
And he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
He seemed like stereotypical gangster guy. Like he was trying to play like an Al Capone kind of character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you just felt like he was doing that like affection, like in his voice and stuff like that.
Yeah. Kojak and one time Ernst Blofeld.
Yeah.
In On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah. No, I just found his character grating, honestly.
Yeah, he like went through like his wife's purse, like sitting at the table.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and the one really surprising thing for this movie was that when the warden told him that like, he's like, when Burt Lancaster's like, I saw some kids playing on the way to the Rock. He's like, yeah, everyone lives on the Rock. I was like, really? Everyone lives on? Was that true?
I don't know.
That's so weird. Like, I was like, all right.
I wouldn't want to live on the Rock.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna live like next to a prison. We're gonna live on a prison island, guys. That was crazy.
Yeah, so it's a biopic, and it tries to basically go through this guy's entire life, and it pretty much does. I mean, it starts when he's an adult and he's already in prison.
What do you think about the rappers? Like that was so random.
The guy, like, I wrote this book about it. Yeah, I thought that was weird, and then
it was unnecessary.
It gets to the end of the movie, and he gets off at Alcatraz because he gets transferred to another prison, which is more minimum security. Because apparently, right after that, he died shortly after that. And the movie just ends. Like I thought it was going to fall into the next prison and then show him dying. Another thing I don't really like about the movie is the way they age him. Because I couldn't tell what the hell age he was. Like, I was like, have 5 years passed or have 50? He looked old most of the movie. And like early on in the movie, like I think when the riot at Alcatraz happens, that was supposed to be, it's true. I think it happened in the mid 40s. And around that time, he would have been 50 something. I thought he was like 70 something. Yeah. I was like, I don't get what age they're trying to make him. See, I never could tell. And that's why I thought, at one point, I thought his mom was dead because he looked so old. Yeah. I was like, his mom would have to be like 120 now. But then she comes back in the movie, and she looks about the same. I was like, what? And then later, she looks like the Crypt Keeper.
I liked how subtle the age makeup was. I do agree that you can't tell what age he is, but...
Well, subtle, and maybe I do like they gave him one old age transformation. He just kept that the rest of the movie. Maybe. So they're like, for the next 60 years, you just look like this.
But I liked because sometimes you look at him, and be like, oh, his hair's a little bit thinner.
Yeah,
like I like that aspect of it, right? Where they're not like it's not like stupid. What do we watch? Steel Magnolias, where it's like the calendar on the wall changes and stuff like that. Like 3 years later, like it's not that blatant, but maybe it's a little too subtle. But I did like that. Like, oh, I can tell time has passed by because his hair's thinner and he's acting a little bit more frail, a little bit more slower. So for me, that kind of worked for me because I thought it was kind of cool.
Well, I felt like because they also aged the Neville Brand character, and I felt like at one point they gave him like a frosty white mustache and frosty white hair, but then in a further scene he was back to his normal hair color. And I was like, I don't know if that's just a continuity problem or like a editing problem or what, but yeah, maybe he did. I don't know, but the old age stuff didn't really work out for me. But,
so was that a model of Alcatraz at the beginning of the movie?
I don't remember. I don't remember what you were talking about.
Like he's talking. So when he steals, wait. Maybe I'm confusing the movies again.
No, Escape from Alcatraz. He has a model of Alcatraz.
Okay, I'm confusing movies. Yeah, sorry.
That was Monday's movie. We've moved on.
We've moved on. Not me.
We escaped from Alcatraz and then we came back.
We escaped from Alcatraz, landed at Leavenworth for 90 minutes or 2 hours, and then went to Alcatraz for 10 minutes.
But yeah, I mean, it is a biopic, so they try and touch on all aspects of his life. All aspects of his life just happen to be while he's in prison, but it didn't work for me. I wish that the movie would have really just concentrated on the birds. I felt like that is a decent chunk of the movie, but you throw in all the other stuff, it just wasn't working for me. And I wrote down that the movie is about 2.5 hours, and I felt like about 30 minutes of it was the bird hatching out of the egg.
Oh man, that took forever.
A long time.
And did you notice all the jump cuts in there too?
Because I'm sure they were like, "Geez, hurry up, get out of that egg!"
And they sped up the footage too.
Yeah. But it still took forever.
It took forever.
I was like, I think
we don't need all that.
That's about 30 minutes of the runtime of this movie was the bird hatching.
Yeah, he spent like 5 years in prison looking at the bird hatching out of the thing.
Yeah.
And they all got sick, and then he gave him a whole bunch of drugs. They let him have a whole bunch of like random drugs. Like, how's this dude not making bombs or anything?
Yeah, again, I mean, they it seemed like they gave this guy, and again, we're not going by what actually happened in real life. We're going by what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
And in the movie, they give him everything it seems like he wants.
Yeah, they should have had the warden or someone being like, man, this guy's asking a lot and stuff like that. And like, if I was him, like maybe I would have made like a concoction and see if it cured the birds. But then I would have handed that formula off to my wife and have her like manufacture that stuff. And then she could have made the money and the prison wouldn't have known. And then he could have kept that money. But since he was trying to do that inside the prison, they said you can't do that. So, who's the genius here? Yeah. Me.
Well, then he gets married to his wife, and then later on, poor thing comes back, to visit him, and he says, "Don't tell her not to come."
Yeah.
Neville Brand
he's like,
"I'm
dead to you."
Yeah, and then she comes, and she's like, "No, but I still want to make this work," and he's just like, "Nah, get out of here." And I'm just like, I don't like this guy. Like, I'm not. I felt like the Carl Malden Warden character was much more sympathetic. I liked him a lot more than I liked the Birdman of Alcatraz.
Yep. All right. Anything else?
So cast of this movie: Burt Lancaster, we mentioned; Carl Malden, we mentioned; Neville Brand, we mentioned; Telly Savalas. Thelma Ritter plays his mother, and in a very, very small role, it's actually uncredited. You've got Len Lesser. He plays one of the guys that starts the riot at Alcatraz. If you've ever watched Seinfeld, he's Uncle Leo in Seinfeld. He's basically on, I think, in at least every season of Seinfeld. So if you watch Seinfeld, then you've seen this guy before. It was nominated for Best Actor, Burt Lancaster, which he is good. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like the character that he plays.
Yeah, I thought he did.
I think he's very unsympathetic. Telly Savalas was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Thelma Ritter was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and it was nominated for Best Black and White Cinematography because this was back in the days where they separated black and white and color cinematography. So it was nominated for Best Black and White Cinematography. It's 91% fresh and 84% audience score.
Any no Leonard?
Leonard Maltin gave us 3.5 stars.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, once again, it got cut off, or I didn't write it down. But I remember he gave it 3.5 stars, but not reviewed by Siskel and Ebert because it came out in the 60s, and I didn't find a print review.
Well before their time.
Yeah.
All right, so that was our review on Birdman Alcatraz, and since we're coming back at it, we're doing questions.
That's right. I was about to tune out, and then I was like, wait, we have a viewer's question. So we did a whole month of Halloween.
We did.
And one thing we didn't really discuss there at the end was what was like our favorite movies out of the Halloween movies that were our top 3 or whatever, whatever you want to do. What are our top favorite movies of the Halloween season that we watched? Yep. So we can, you have more than one you want to mention? We can go back and forth.
I mean, there's one that's the top of it, but we can talk about some of the movies leading up to it. I mean, I think there's some definitely surprising movies that I saw. I think, I know you had an affinity for Candyman going into this, and so I was nervous about how I would like Candyman, and I ended up really liking Candyman.
Yeah.
And the other one was the Night of the Living Dead. You know, Stone Cold classic. You got to worry about that leading into it. You know, it's the beginning of the Romero zombies, beginning of the modern day zombies, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy it stood up really well. Super awesome to have like a character like Ben on the screen and all that kind of stuff. So those are the two that kind of jumped to my mind. What are your thoughts about?
Yeah, I mean, most of the movies I had seen, I think probably the biggest letdown of the movies that I hadn't seen was, I guess, The Howling.
Yeah,
I felt more let down by that movie than anything. Again, it wasn't awful, but I expected to like it a lot more than I did. Reanimator I had not seen. That was probably my favorite of the ones I hadn't seen, because again, most of the ones I had seen. And you know, Tetsuo was an experience. I mean, I'm glad we picked that one. I mean, it was very interesting to watch.
The one thing I'm happy about the whole thing was that we got movies that both of us haven't seen, although it kind of leaned towards me more. But B, I like that we got a swath of different subgenres within horror, and we got movies that weren't all like American focused. You know, we got the Japanese, we had the Spain with Who Can Kill a Child. We had a movie that took place in Italy, even though that's a British movie. So I liked that we kind of got a whole we kind of got some different subgenres and different cultures into the whole thing.
It was a nice Halloween grab bag of candy, of movies, candy movies, movies candy. But trying to make some kind of analogy there. It was a it was a treat, not a trick, guys.
There you go. But I think we're going to be similar in the one that stands out to me the most was The Blob. That was so fun, so exciting, surprising, and really well done. I mean, it was so good. I watched it by myself that I actually a few days later showed it to Kirby to watch. Yeah. So I mean that gives me a pretty high positive recommendation that I would watch it pretty close together in multiple viewings. So.
I mean, my favorite movie out of all the movies that we watch is obviously Don't Look Now, because I gushed over it for I feel like an hour and a half, although I don't think the video was actually that long. But my most fun movie, I agree with you, is the because Don't Look Now is a great movie. It's not fun though. It's depressing. But the most fun movie for me, I agree, is The Blob. It's
Blob
such
an
awesome movie to watch. If you haven't seen it, check it out, and hopefully you haven't watched our video and got it all spoiled if you've never seen it.
Yeah, I'm glad we watched Don't Look Now. That was good. I'm glad we got to hear your take on it too, because I think that it was enlightening, for sure.
Hopefully,
it opened my eyes.
Hopefully,
so I can see. Now I can see the reflection.
You can look now.
I can look now. You don't look now if you haven't seen the movie, but once you've seen the movie, you can look.
You drop the don't and you look now. Yeah,
that's right.
But yeah, The Blob for sure is just a blast. Yeah,
I mean, there was just so much. There's a lot of fun things in there. You know, just it was a good smattering of movies for sure.
Agreed.
All right. Anything else on that? All right, guys. Well, if you watched those movies along with us, let us know what were your favorite ones that you watched, or what movies caught you by surprise during our Halloween season. You can either shoot us an email, realshame@gmail.com, or you can leave us a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, do all that kind of social media stuff, because that really does help. And what else do I say? I think I say, and stay tuned next time as we cross another movie off our list of shame. And we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later. Bye.